we are on to Forge next. The favourite of every player, and another map that's also seen a few changes in terms of metal distribution, as we will see when we get into that game. But I think that's again, it's going to see a lot of tank play. It's and walls. I suspect we will see a lot of walls as well come up.
Yes, I'm not a fan of the walls. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think that the artwork is very reflective of their purpose in the current state that it's in. That's just my personal opinion.
Well, I think the audience can't quite make up its mind who's going to win. We've got a 50-50 split in the vote at the moment between Custard and Kiwi.
Ooh.
So it's
now. Have you seen either of these two fellows playing on Forge recently? I feel like I may have watched a Custard game on Forge at one point, and I think he won it. Maybe. My memory is fantastic today, as you can clearly see.
Well, I think given the position of these chaps on the ladder, they are very, very close. We got Kiwi's sixth on the ladder. Custard is third. In terms of rating, the two of them very, very tight. It could really go either way. I think that potentially I would favour Custard. I think Custard just made a bad choice of play on Berg. I think that he can take it on Forge. I feel they've just got the edge.
Yeah. Well, the Kiwi's in the Twitch now, I think, listening in, so I'm sure he'll be delighted to hear your words of encouragement.
Get out the Twitch, Kiwi. All right. Yeah, I think Custard will just edge it. But we shall see with that.
Well, it's Kiwi. Kiwi's got everything to prove now. The pressure is on.
Both of these, both of these players, they've seen a lot of changes. I don't think this patch is going to is really phasing them too much. They've both been around for a very long time in the PA scene. I think that it's just another set of changes for them. Anyone who played through Gamma knows about some extreme balance changes, so they should be used to this now. This, by comparison, is nothing for anyone who went through the Gamma phase.
Well, yeah, oh god, Gamma. And not only did we have the balance changes in Gamma, we had the name changes, including our favourite tank in the T1 tier.
The Inferno never changed.
Oh, Quitch.
Well, in actual fact, we might see, there's always the possibility for a Pelican drop here. The Pelican drop with Infernos round the back of the Forge base. That's a thing. It's been done. And indeed, there is less, the metal distribution between the two bases has been changed slightly. It used to be, correct me if I'm wrong here, but there used to be 6 metal between the two bases. It's now been spaced out, so there's a group of 4 and there's a group of 2, making it slightly hard to grab all that metal and just pretty much end the game.
Well, I think a lot of these maps focus around having these very tight hotspots, which you, as a player, aim to control, which does make for some really good plays. Spreading them out can lead to some slightly different tactics, which you have to use. Obviously, if you can only lock down a portion of those, then it can lead to a more defensive play in terms of short-range defense. Whereas what you'll tend to do when they are all clumped together in larger clumps is try and project your power from that group rather than building defensively next to it.
Well,
so that could lead to some interesting play there in terms of, for example, building pelters and things in amongst them.
Well, we are now into the third game of Match B of the quarterfinals, the Evil Twins finals between Custard and Kiwi. It's currently 1-1 right now, and we are now playing on Forge. So as we'll just quickly cover here, you see the slight change. We're talking about the metal distribution in the center here. Slight change. Now 2 metal over here. I believe that this CSG here actually might be new. Again, someone shout at me if you know more about Forge than I do, but I think that might be new. That used to be an open space. I remember defending there before. And also on the hills on the right-hand side, these 2 metal here, I believe, are also new to potentially encourage a bit more play on the flanks. Forge was always a very central map. This column between the 2 bases here tended to be where you'd see most of the action.
Well, of course, I think a lot of these maps are designed to be fairly mobile-like in nature, where you have almost got lanes between the 2 bases, and depending on how the players choose to lay their bases out, you could, for example, build what we used to see back in good old days, expansion bases where you actually have a row of eco and factories all lining various sides, which completely changes the flow of the battle altogether. We don't tend to see that so much these days. Maybe we should.
Well, over in Match C, Eladea has, unfortunately for the Realm, defeated Zyke 2-0. So congratulations to Eladea, who advances on to the semi-finals. But over here in Match B, very strange choice from Custard here, who is going with an opening. He's going with mass bots. He's trying to recreate the Julian from the qualifiers.
Recreate the Julian. Is that the name for this maneuver? Well, building lots of bot factories is called doing a Julian now.
I do believe that there was a similar thing where it was Julian went for bots. It was called. There was no way Julian was going to win that because no one does bots on Forge. And
here comes the wiggle. Here comes
the wiggle. He probably won a very convincing victory.
The wiggle.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that when you play against people who haven't seen you before, they call hacks. Nothing
very good play.
Nothing angers a player more than the Doc's wiggle against the tank.
It's such a Custard thing to do as well.
This is a very time-sensitive play, though. He has to shut down Kiwi fast. He has to stop him getting out of this space, and then just overwhelm with numbers. And if I think Kiwi is a good enough player that he might put a stop to this. But on the other hand, Custard has surprised people with Docs before. Was in the Clopsy Pro-Am, where I think we saw mass Docs play from Custard with the assist.
Absolutely, Custard's always loved his Docs. That's one of his favourite units, as far as I can remember. As far back as I can remember as well. But we'll see how he used it. He's got a little expansion here. Very early aggression. I think he's got enough Docs here to really put a bit of pressure on.
Yeah, no, he's going to take out those Fabbers. Those Fabbers are doomed if they keep moving.
Come on, come on. There we go.
Nice early pickup there. Nice
that Bolo's so nearly.
He's being cheeky. He's going to hang on there. We see already both players starting to make a play for this expansion on the side. Kiwi's going to go camp that and stop this early Fabber maneuver.
Yeah, I think so. That was very, very good play. The taking out those two fabricators very early on is very, very powerful in the early game, because fabricator numbers in the early game are critical for how fast you can expand. And you can actually see Kiwi is now at 60 while Custard is at 90 on his eco.
Yes, already he's using the Docks to shut down this expansion. It's just got to keep the pressure on, build up a critical mass, and then he can pull off. And indeed, we actually see Kiwi starting to build up some Pelicans from his air factory. So he might well be trying to pull off an Inferno, but I think it's probably going to just be a Fabber drop.
We are informed by our various sources that Eladea's last game was in fact won with a Hulkin snipe. So we have had the fabled Hulkin snipe come through for us in this tournament as well.
Well, this should have been. We should clearly next tournament have some kind of prize bonus for people who pull off victories in certain ways.
I think that'd be very, very interesting to see, actually. So a $10 cash incentive for playing a certain way. It's quite a good way of inspiring some more interesting play. I
think Eladea maximum trollage. I think that would be the kind of thing that he would love. Eladea, you must only win with combat fabbers and mines, as he loves to do on his ladder games. But indeed, we see that the Pelican's already been used to drop a Fabber off, as expected over here, take this area of 6.
That's a very little... you can see actually Custard has scouted, but this Doc's here, he's seen it coming over, so he knows it's there. I think that was the purpose of having that Doc's here. He's done his job, he's now walking away victorious and waiting for the cavalry to come in and deal with it.
Well, it looks like Kiwi's got his he's got his fires over there. That turret's going to go up. Custard, if he pushes in with all his Docks, but he's going to take a fair few losses taking out that turret. Ideally, it's not the ideal position for the turret, though. Normally, you place it further forward and put some walls in front of it and really just lock down that whole section, and that single Docks has stopped that from happening. Oh, and the fighter's out of position. And but no, Custard's just flown right on by. Hasn't taken out the Pelican, but not the Fabber. Very, very strange.
That bomber has just been taken care of.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think Custard was sending them somewhere else, and it just happened to pass by and give themselves away.
That was very unlucky.
Yes, a rather unfortunate manoeuvre there.
But that could have been what he needed to stop that expansion. But the fabricator now absolutely fine and able to continue building these 6 metal extractors unopposed. Rather unfavourable confrontation happening now just to the north there. Those docks ran into a bunch of bolos and didn't have a fun time at all.
Yeah, I think unfortunately you see now that Custard has switched up to his own bolo of his own. The docks strategy hasn't really worked out for him, and I think we're going to see Kiwi start to take an economic lead shortly. And yeah, it's fairly tight in the army. The numbers compensated for by the docks.
I feel like Custard needs to transition away from docks. Fairly prompt, because as you say, having the docks for early raiding is useful, but this is not really a map where the mobility is going to be a huge advantage for them in most cases.
No, if you go mass docks on a map like this, you really have to just stop them getting out. Anything more than that 4 mechs field, you have to lock it down, stop them getting out from there, and then you just come in and crush them with numbers, hitting them from either side so they can't... You can run between their own buildings so they can't get you, but if you let them get out, and Kiwi really has got out of there...
Yeah, very much out.
Yeah, he's taken the 6. He's about to lose it. Custard's now sending his bolos over, but...
yeah, Custard is not in a good place right now. Custard is very much on the back foot.
It's looking tight. Once he takes out that field of 6, Custard's going to, again, assume the economic lead.
Oh, he's taken... I didn't even see that. I did not see those. Well spotted, Quitch.
So yeah, I am the vision master. I am everywhere. Omnipotent. I think we're moving into a rather tight game. I think those bots have given Custard enough of an edge to let him get back into this with bolos. I don't think those bots are going to be a factor. Really... should have perhaps had a slightly heavier air presence to stop that kind of pelican drop in what was a rather predictable drop location. A fighter over there would probably have done him some good and may well have given him the advantage at this point.
Custard, I don't know if you saw that ping I just put down there. Custard tried to defend, tried to attack one of Kiwi's expansions. They took out the fabricator and one of the metal extractors as a result, but the remaining 3 managed to stay alive because there were some fighters there to respond appropriately.
I think we're going to see Custard's tank force make a sweep around the edge now, which could be reasonably effective. Kiwi's not in a good position to stop that attack. He's going to be losing more resources. On the other hand, Kiwi's the one who's making all the moves in the centre right now.
Absolutely. But he's got the wrong place. He's got the wrong forces in the wrong place at the wrong time. Really, Custard has a chance to push through with this all the way through to Kiwi's doorstep, effectively, if he chooses to do so. Kiwi has some forces there, but not really enough to completely stop this, I don't think. And they're too spread out. Custard's tanks idle at the moment. Really could be using those, making them more mobile. Yeah,
Kiwi's going for a very strong flank. He's drawing out Custard's forces slightly. He's trying to do the same thing with his own tank force. Very strange position for this war with the commander. I would expect to see it placed on the other side of the metal, so he could claim all of the mechs safely, rather than just half of them.
Well, I think he was actually reacting to some aggressive play from Custard. You can see those docks on the radar, I believe. So he was expecting them to push in and try and do some nasty things to him. And I think they were a panic build more than a planned one.
Well, I think again that's, as we saw on Berg, Kiwi perhaps responding without necessarily knowing what he's responding to.
Absolutely.
I think perhaps a bit more, bit better scouting, get a bit better vision, and Custard's now going to go around the back and raid out those 3 mechs, but he's going to have to start raiding even more aggressively because Kiwi is starting to take over this map.
Kiwi has a very sizable advantage in eco here. Unfortunately, as you saw, hopefully you saw from that ping there, Custard's forces not microed at all there, and they lost considerably what should have been a very favourable engagement as a result of that poor micro. But we are about to see some heavy raiding on this little base down here where another force of Custards pushing through there. That fabricator is instantly gone. There is a defensive tower there and some walls in front of it. I'm not sure whether that's going to be enough to stop these altogether. I feel there's enough tanks here just to push through, go around the side and take it out from the side.
I think Custard's going to win, but it's not going to be a metal favourable confrontation for him.
No, absolutely not. There we go. They've pushed through enough that they've just about managed to pull through that okay.
Actually, we'd see that Kiwi's generally losing more metal in these confrontations, though.
We've equalised in eco. Custard was behind by about 50 not 2 minutes ago, but has now equalised it.
He has managed to. He's been raiding pretty effectively. He's using his docks to raid around in the corners. He's sweeping around the flanks. He's given up the centre, the Kiwi, completely. But as long as he can keep control of the edges, then he should be fine.
Actually, what we can see, Custard has raided this bit as well with some docks and got rid of that. He's now about to push in on Kiwi's doorstep with another small force of bolos and take out even more metal extractors and push his advantage even further. Although he's now wisely pulling back, but because of this force of Kiwis sat behind the remaining 2 mechs. You've got some reinforcements coming out from the south though, and I think he can really put some pressure on here.
Well, Custard is miles ahead in terms of army right now, and we're seeing the metal loss graph that Kiwi has been coming out worse in almost every confrontation that's happened so far. So Custard been doing very well at just constantly keeping the pressure on every flank. Kiwi's moved in the centre and left his flanks wide open. Custard's taken full advantage of that.
I'm interested to see what's going to happen now. These 2 forces sort of just eyeing each other up over the middle of the map here. This metal extractor is going to get taken out, which is nice. Good play there. Now he's going to run those straight into the line of that laser tower. He's going to push in and try and kill that, but a huge loss as this army comes in to try and defend. Custard wisely pulling back there, but he got a little bit too close for comfort, and he's pulling back in for some strange reason, and these tanks are all going to get taken out here. Not a good confrontation for him at all.
For some reason, Custard just sort of milling around in front of the commander right now, losing a few docks unnecessarily. Docks that we're better off actually pushing out again around on the flanks, because we just see once again Kiwi looking very vulnerable there. There's really a lot of eco waiting just to be picked off by some docks running around. And Kiwi can't really move out to protect them because the tanks will then pick him off.
Custard has got obviously control of this 6 field round here now. He's pushing off of there, taking control, building some defences to try and keep him off of there. Kiwi has lost some resources. I'm trying to see where Kiwi is getting all of this eco from. It's just from the middle of the map, isn't it? Because he's got control of all of this stuff around here. That's where he's basically having all of his eco advantage from, or not really advantage, he's equalising eco. But Custard has got all of the outfield expansions to himself. I'm not seeing any air defense here in amongst Kiwi's forces, which is not good because Custard has got some bombers around the place. Kiwi trying to react by sending some fighters of his own to try and deal with those, but Custard has enough fighters there to deal with those effectively.
Yeah, Custard's very much taking control of the air game at this point. He's got the manoeuvrability. Kiwi's just going to have to go for a sledgehammer approach, and he just doesn't have the troops. Custard is taking a really convincing lead in numbers now. Even if some of that is just that he's got docks and Kiwi doesn't. Kiwi's commander way out of position. We're going to see the walls be quickly put up now. But I think he's going to have to withdraw. Yeah, he's not going to be able to hold that.
That's going to be a very... In fact, this could be quite dangerous for Kiwi's commander. There are not enough forces there to really absorb all of the damage being output by the Orange Army. They're creeping forward. This single wall is not going to be enough to absorb all the fire. The units are not firing for some reason. Has Custard got these on hold fire? They're not firing back.
He may be using... There's a bug with there are some bugs with attack move.
Oh no, Custard really could have actually done some serious damage to Kiwi's commander there, but the units were not firing. That is extremely unfortunate. He came out of that a lot worse than he should have done.
Unfortunately didn't notice there, but sensibly trying to move some docks around the side to keep the pressure on Kiwi. Kiwi managing to multitask rather well there and respond to the docks attack while also handling his commander machines. There's a nice play, and we're seeing now that Kiwi's actually starting to plant turrets over on his other flank to stop all these pesky raids that have been going on. Really, if he can get that to hold, then Custard could be in trouble, because those raids have given Custard's economic advantage so far.
That actually could have, that confrontation there with those tanks not firing could have lost Custard the game. He's just taken a huge chunk out of his army from that, and he didn't need to. He really could have taken out all of Kiwi's forces and put in a sizable amount of damage on that commander. Probably even killed him outright. You heard me getting excited because I thought we could have seen the game ender there. That's really, really unfortunate that happened just then.
Yep, unfortunate for Custard, but he's letting Kiwi lock down this map, and this section here was very raidable for quite a long time, and unfortunately Custard missed a great opportunity, and all these turrets have gone down now. Yeah, you see the boom bots going up, but it's going to need a lot more than that. That
commander is actually very, very exposed. Kiwi's commander is very vulnerable. If Custard knows where he is, he can put his boom bots straight in there, and that commander can be boom bot sniped right now.
I think you're going to need... I don't think those boom bots are going to sneak through all of those forces. They have to get through a number of factories. There's Inferno sitting in that area. There's turrets if he tries to go around the flank route. I don't think he's going to be winning it anytime soon with boom bots. Yeah, that's right. Perhaps. That's right. He's not going to win it anytime soon with boom bots. So in 2 minutes, perhaps everyone's going to get to laugh at me. But yeah, Kiwi just starting to try and grind Custard down. Custard once again managed to take back the economic lead. I'm really not sure where they're all finding the extra metal spots from, to be quite honest. They seem to be gaining more eco, and I don't know where the hell they're getting it from.
It's hacks, is what it is.
Oh, clearly. But yeah, Custard
Raiding now, finally.
Locking down the 6 there. He's not going to be losing that.
Boombot's being used against the turrets wisely.
There you go. Called it here.
Docks.
Quitch predictions, right there.
Prequictions. That's definitely a word I'm going to start using from now on.
That's what I like to hear. Look at this. The wall is going down. If he can finish that off, that's really going to put Custard in trouble. But I think Custard's going to be able to just get around the flank.
No, that wall has been absolutely decisive in this. All those tanks able just to hide behind there and output damage all the way through that when really they should have been picked off. Custard, unfortunately, once more not going to come out of this very well at all. Those Infernos are getting rather too close.
Yeah, I think unfortunately that wall is going to be a game decider. Kiwi's got the mechs on one side locked down really hard with turrets. He's got them locked down the other side with tanks. So Custard can't take and get the economic advantage he needs, and Custard really just can't leave his own base right now. Really needs to put down a pelter or something to give him an edge against that wall.
What he really needs is to try and make some better use of this proxy base, because his main base, as you say, is locked down. This one, however, is free to really sort of take off on its own, but he's not been using it as much. He's only got the single factory there. He could definitely build a few more factories and go at it from there.
Well, I think with the turrets on the flank here now, it's going to be quite tricky to break out of anywhere. I mean, he's still got a free route over here that's undefended, and you can see him starting to swing his docks around that way. But he just doesn't.
But he needs to maintain the defense of the other route, which has currently got walls being built on it left, right, and centre. If he doesn't have a sizable force there to answer Kiwi can just steam straight through the gaps in that wall and take out his base. So he has to keep a force there, otherwise he's opening himself up very, very vulnerably. That said, Custard's doing a very good job of raiding with his air force. He does have air dominance still on this map. He's doing a very good job denying easy expansions by Kiwi. I feel Kiwi has done a good job of building anti-air defense in the right places, certainly in amongst this area here in the main sort of expansion field that he has, and keeping Custard from doing any raiding by air in that area. But the rest of the map is more or less Custard's in terms of having the air there to completely get rid of everything. Another confrontation happening now in Custard's base, more or less. Two flanks from Kiwi, one single blob in the middle from Custard, being pelted from both sides, and he's outnumbered, and there are Infernos now heading towards Custard's main base. This army is not going to be able to stop those from getting through. This is going to be very, very painful. This could be the decider here for this match, and indeed for this entire set of 3 matches between these two players.
Indeed, as he gets in among those factories there, the Burnt Custard really starting to look in trouble. But on the other hand, at least Kiwi's had to come out from behind those walls, and that's Custard's force much better clumped up than Kiwi. His own walls were getting in his way, which led to his force perhaps not being as well in good a formation as it could have been. And we see Burnt Custard using assist there to clump up his troops. His ever famous assist commanding.
Absolutely. Kiwi didn't really push in as hard as he needed to really make the best out of that. But now forcing Custard to try and answer to this by going through and take out walls. He's taken out a fair number of the walls. He's able to get rid of some of these bolos, but there was a turret at the back there which has now been taken out, which was dealing some damage to Custard's forces. So he's taken that out. He's managed to get rid of most of the threat there, and now he's pulling back and waiting for some more reinforcements. Still even Stevens on this eco.
Well, I think we were seeing Custard get a little overconfident there from his victory. Really needed to flank that wall, not go straight at it. He won a victory, but only because Kiwi had come out from behind his wall. We wasn't in a position to suddenly start winning the game off the back of that.
And he really does not want to have all these forces here doing this. This is not going well for him at all. He's having to sit here and fire at these walls from this side, and Kiwi, meanwhile, are picking off his units from behind in relative safety.
Yeah, he needs to pull back, and he needs to go around. He needs to just flank that wall. And Kiwi's ready for this because he's building up turrets everywhere around the back of his base now. He is waiting for Custard to try and flank him, and he's starting to take the mechs now over on this side of the map, very slowly, very cautiously, in what is looking like the Kiwi style now. Very cautiously, starting to feel out a victory in this game. I think. Does feel like Custard keeps trying to probe for a weakness, and he's not finding one. He's not finding a way to break out from his base. Like on Berg, he's let himself get shut in.
Custard still has the advantage in mobile army numbers here. I'm not quite sure how, as he has not done very well in terms of convertations.
Well, it was earlier he was something like 270 to about 140, so Kiwi's really brought, he's really narrowed it down. Plus, we have to remember that a lot of that count is docks. With a tank, with a bolo being worth about 3 times as much as the docks in terms of raw metal cost.
We now have some more forces from Kiwi pushing into the base here, taking out metal extractors, very, very valuable metal extractors. And this fabricator, I think, is going to get killed before it completes the laser defense tower. Custard having to send his entire force through to try and answer this, but not before having lost a significant chunk of economy in the meantime. And now looking at the eco tab, Kiwi has nearly a 70 metal lead over Burnt Custard here. I think we're going to start to see Custard slowly, again, as we saw on Berg, retreat into one corner and be whittled down by Kiwi's numbers.
Well, we saw the fighters fan out there. I think he was trying to find Kiwi's commanders. He knows the end is coming. He's trying to find the commander.
We're in snipe territory. That's all his only option here really is going to be a snipe.
He doesn't really have anything to do a snipe with, though, at this stage.
No.
He hasn't built up boom bots, which would have... Indeed, I feel that he should have switched from docks to boom bots potentially earlier, because then he could have used them to break through the walls. Boom bots are very good at busting walls. His docks just haven't done anything since Kiwi locked down the flanks with turrets. They haven't really been a factor in this game.
Custard engaging against Kiwi's walls. Walls are cheap, and he's losing a lot more in metal than Kiwi is in these confrontations. Sending these ants right up against the walls is not going to do him any favours whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't.
And he's lost that.
Well, he's busted the walls. He's got to break out somewhere. I mean, that's his only. If he lets himself just stay trapped in that base, he's doomed. But he just doesn't have the numbers to get through. And
he's just spent his entire army. He's just spent everything busting through that wall. Now Kiwi could just push and Control A and then just send it all straight into the middle of Custard's base, and nothing he can do about it. This commander is now actually exposed. There's some infernos in here, which really Custard needs to be very, very careful. If they get close, they do a lot of damage. He's taken a bit of a hit off those. The bombers come in to try and deal with as many of the bombers as possible, but he's taking a fair bit of damage off of that raid, down to 66%.
Yep, not quite enough troops there, but yeah.
Meanwhile, on the other
Kiwi's
side of Custard's base, here comes the meat of Kiwi's army, charging through here, around the wreckages, going to try and take out everything that's left on the side of the base. And I think he's got the numbers here to do a fair bit of damage, unless Custard can bring in some air to try and fix this. I don't think he has any left. I think it's all taken out. So this is all going to start pushing through here, chomping through factories and units alike. There are infernos mixed in here. When they get close enough, they start to put out a lot of damage, and they can soak it all up as well. And once they get in there, that's really the end of it all.
Yeah, at this point, Kiwi's he's just closing his fist on Burnt Custard now, and I don't see a way out for Burnt Custard. He made an early, he went for the bot attack early on, try and shut Kiwi down, didn't succeed, and he's just really been in trouble ever since then. It's been a bit of to and fro, but Kiwi's just slowly ground him down again.
It's unfortunate. I really can't see a way for Custard to come back from this. He's still got... Oh, hang on, what's this? What is this?
Oh yes, of course, the orbital rush. Well, that's bound to work this time. It didn't work on Berg, and he reclaimed it after just building a radar. But this time he's got it.
This time he's got it. Yeah,
perhaps a little late. 24 minutes. Just feel like perhaps wait too long to go for the orbital on the single planet.
Absolutely. Now we see the Infernos coming in. Custard's called the GG. I'm not quite sure whether he's going to delete his commander or shoot him off into space and then delete him. I think it may just be a deletion from Custard at this point. Or he's charged his commander in for the honourable death. He's going to go and die by flamethrower. An honourable way to go indeed. There he goes.
Yeah.
That is Custard eliminated from this tournament.
Unfortunately, that is the realm. Oh no! Well, yes, the realm as represented by names eliminated from this tournament, with Zyke out and now Custard out. So Clan Donga continues onwards. Go Twitch beats.
Oh, let's not do this.
Ashamed to wear the realm's name tag, Kiwi progresses onto the next round. But let's take a look at this and see where it all went wrong for Custard. And I have to say, I think it was just down to this rather unsuccessful dock strategy, where he just let Kiwi get out.
It was poor army composition when it comes down to it. Docks are not well suited to this map. It is very much about map control. It's almost sort of World War One like in terms of having the area control, and you've got the very strong frontiers which you build up and you sort of push forward. You go over the top of your trench, you take out the enemy's front line, then you re-establish a new front line, and then you both dig in for a bit longer and push forward and backward from there. And I don't think Docks are very well suited to that playstyle at all.
I feel that he could potentially have pulled it off. I mean, he started out well. He took out a couple of early fabbers, but then he really has to take the 6 expansion early. He has to take it fast and early, while keeping Kiwi on the back foot. You know, he has to have docks on every side, so the fabbers can't get out anywhere. And he just didn't manage it. I mean, Kiwi's the one who actually starts locking down the 6 expansion, and at that point, it just felt like the docks approach had failed.
And early on, I mean, we saw that Custard made fantastic use of the docks wiggle. And I think that in the late game, his lack of docks wiggling was really what cost him. I'm not being at all serious, don't worry.
It did. And more wiggle, they say.
More cowbell.
Yeah, I think, yeah, once he'd done that, but perhaps a transition at some point out away from the docks. It was just... They stopped being effective. He kept building docks, and really, I think, just shifting across to booms. I mean, if you can sneak your booms in amongst your tanks, and they can swarm out from behind the tanks, they can do a lot of damage to tanks. Booms are incredibly cost-effective against tanks, so long as you don't let the tanks get too many shots off them. But he kept going for these dock swarms, and they started out well, but Kiwi took the centre really early on, and Custard never quite managed to lock down the flanks. And so again, that was it. That was the second opportunity, I think. Kiwi went for the centre, but Custard went for the flanks, but Kiwi managed to hold his ground with walls, and Custard just could never quite take it.
I didn't actually see many walls going up from Custard at all throughout that. Kiwi was very much the man of the walls. Custard was trying to use the mobility of the docks. Again, not really, in my opinion, playing to the style of the map, and trying to go for a very fluid play style, which this map just doesn't lend itself to.
Yes, I think. Yeah, it just needed. He just never quite locked anything down. He never really owned any areas of the map. Kiwi was taking that centre.
He borrowed it. He borrowed it rather than.
Yes, I think so. There was a lot. You see a lot of the areas that Custard owned were being traded with Kiwi, whereas Kiwi's areas never really got traded with Custard. He claimed ground as his own and then held it.
But no, unfortunately, that's Custard gone from this particular tournament, out of a chance of winning from that spectacular prize pool. And Kiwi moves on through to the semi-finals, where he will shortly be facing against either winner of bracket A, which I'm not sure whether this is Yates or Gregorian Monks.
I believe that Yates has taken his first match against Gregorian Monks, who, as you may remember, was our winner of the qualifying tournament. It's the wildcard entry into the finals. Unfortunately, Yates proved to be a bit too much for him in that first game, but they have yet to play the second.
It's a bit of a tough ask, has to be said. Although he was the wild card from the qualifiers, Yates, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, no, Yates is no longer number 1 on the ladder, is he?
He is currently number 2 on the ladder.
Number 2. That's not far off. I wasn't far off at all.
Yes, I think he's close enough. I think
he's playing against the top seeds in the game.
I think once you get to that level, it becomes fairly interchangeable as to who is the best. It's what phase is the moon that day?
Oh, I think I'm gonna have a stab in the dark here that we were in a new moon. You see what I did there?
I did, and I am disgusted.
As you should be.
Well, I'm told that we have burnt custard available, so let us have a chat with him before we move on to the semi-final. Well, before we move into game 3, actually. My apologies, of this quarterfinal.
Let's do that.
Hello, Custard.
Hello.
He's alive.
Yes, you are, and well, he's alive, but the hopes and dreams of the realm are not.
Oh dear.
Yes.
Yeah.
So actually, I'm very interested. So I think your 2 losses, Custard, they felt very similar to me, insofar as that you got yourself sort of trapped in your base.
Yeah, Kiwi is really good at compressing people into their start location.
Yeah, as I saw from both on Burt, they were they felt like very tight games, but the Kiwi was sort of really just slowly closing you down, and that you were never able to quite to break out.
Yeah, you have to slowly finish your enemy off, because if you do it too quickly, you leave yourself open to boombot snipes or bomber snipes, especially with the amount of air I was building. Although overall, I think the amount of air I built was a bit too much, and the bombers are pretty expensive now.
Yeah, I think with the what was going on with the docks on Forge, that's quite unusual. I think Forge is normally a very bolo heavy map.
Well, I used to go pure docks on Forge, which was a lot of fun, but now with the economy changes, it's harder to get enough docks early on.
Was that I know because we saw in the qualifiers that Julian, Julian went with a very heavy docks approach there, which he managed to pull off. Was that the plan? I mean, you switched up to bolos there. Did you intend to switch up to bolos, or was that a reaction?
Yeah, I meant to switch. The docks was just to harass very early on, and I killed a couple of fabricators, which was good, but then he had enough tanks to defend. What I should have done is switch those bot factories to build grenadiers instead, because the grenadiers, although they kind of suck still, they are good at taking out things like walls, and he was using walls quite effectively. I definitely underestimated those.
It turned very differently on the naval game, where I think you won a rather convincing victory over on Pacific. Is that just the case? You think that your naval game is stronger, or was it because it's hard for him to just trap you on that kind of map?
No, I think you can still be trapped on that map because there's so much metal around the center, and if your enemy gets that, they just need to sit and hold it. The main thing that won me that game was my early harassing. I feel like that's what I'm good at, and I succeeded with the piranha wiggle.
We noticed the wiggle. The wiggle did you very, very well in that game.
Yeah.
Yes, that was a beautiful thing to see.
I heard that people might have said that I was trolling with the mines, but those were serious mines to try and stop things attacking my islands.
It was not something I have seen before, I must admit, but it was beautiful to watch.
It was
so
the
mines are invisible to almost everything now, so he wouldn't have been able to see them. So when he sent docks over to my island, he wouldn't know where his docks were going. They'd just pop, and he wouldn't have them anymore.
Well, unfortunately, your finals have come to an early close, along with those of Zyke.
Yeah, that's a shame.
I'm sure you can speak to Kiwi later about why he's wearing the Donga tag today and not the Mighty Realm tag.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us, Custard, and we are going to be switching across now to our next game.